And welcome to today's webinar on making money financial planning made easy. This webinar is brought to you by Teach Man to Fish. We are an educational charity based in the United Kingdom whose mission is to empower young people with the skills they need to succeed in school, in work, and in life. Some of you might already know me. My name is Paula, and I'm part of the Teach Man to Fish team. And I've been working on our wonderful educational program, the School Enterprise Challenge, for the last 8 years. The School Enterprise Challenge gives young people the chance to become entrepreneurs while still at school. Participants in the program get to plan, set up, and run a real business. And in the process, of course, they learn about businesses, but they also develop a wide range of skills such as communication, teamwork, problem solving, and leadership. Today here with me, it's also my colleague, India, and she'll be supporting me answering your questions in the chat and helping out with the activities later on in the breakout rooms. We usually start saying that we really want to make the most of our time together today and for you to get as much as you can out of today's session. For that to happen, your participation via the chat box and in the group activities will make all the difference. So we really encourage you to get actively involved and be part of a conversation on today's session. Otherwise, it'll be just me chatting and that will be really boring. So please do take part in the chat box and in the different activities that we'll be carrying out today. So let's get going. Before we start, we usually go with some ground rules so we all know what's going to happen on this hour and a half that we have together. So you'll notice that all of you are on mute at the moment, although we still have people joining. It'll be really difficult for all of us to be speaking at the same time, but don't worry, as we said before, we like you to be actively involved in the conversation. So there'll be more opportunities throughout the session today for you to join the conversation and interact with your colleagues. At regular points in the webinar, I will be asking questions, which you can always answer via the chat box. There'll be a few polls as well for you to vote and take part on some interactive activities together. So as we said at the beginning, it'll be great if you like to introduce yourself by sharing your name and where you're joining from. And for the ones who did that already, because today is all about finances and numbers, I'm really keen to know how you're feeling about that. I usually go with that one on the webinars. How are you feeling about today's topic? How are you feeling about finances? Excited, frightened? I don't know. What's the mood? What's the feeling at the moment with today's topic? If you'd like to share in the chat box, I'm going to allow a few seconds for you to do that. And for the ones who haven't introduced yourself yet, to also do that. Let me have a look at the chat. Welcome everyone from Sri Lanka, South Africa, India. Amazing. Amazing. If you'd like to continue introducing yourself or sharing, how are you feeling? Excited, nervous, something else? Hello, Jyotsna from India. How are you feeling today? So I'm feeling excited. I love finances and I'm excited to be sharing this amazing topic with all of you today. So I hope, I hope you are as excited as we all are. Great. So I can see another excitement going on there in the chat box. So thank you, everyone. And as we said before, there'll be a lot of more opportunities to interact with other participants and contribute throughout today's session. So let's have a look at what we'll be covering then on this roughly hour and a half that we have together. So we'll be looking at some business basics, and that means covering income, costs, and profit. We'll also be looking at the financial planning process, zooming into that process and the importance of what is that actually. Then we are going to cover together some top tips to calculate your income, costs, and profit. And you can already start identifying the 3 keywords on today's webinar, right? It's all about finances, but it's also all about your income, your cost, and your profit, and knowing how to calculate them and what to do once you know what that figure is. And then we'll be running some activities together. There'll be a pop quiz and fill in the gaps, and there'll be a marketplace simulation activity, and we'll have an activity together in breakout rooms. So there'll be plenty of time for questions, interactive games, and reflection in groups. So do remember to jump in the chat box if you have any questions, if you want me to stop and repeat something. As we said before, India is going to support me on the chat, so feel free to use it as you need it. And remember that everything that we share with you today is designed so you can experience the tools and activities for yourself before you bring them to your lessons and replicate them with your learners. So today is you who's behind my screen, but the idea is for you to experience everything firsthand, so then you can replicate them with your learners. And as we usually do at the end of a webinar, I'm going to share with you a link to a survey. And when you complete the survey after the webinar, you'll be able to download a certificate of attendance. I will also share with you the presentation slides and a list of useful resources by email after today's session, so you don't need to worry about writing everything down. You might want to have a pen and paper though for the breakout activities and for the different breakout rooms activities. So keep something handy if you need to, otherwise everything will be shared with you after today's session. Great, so let's get started. And we've been, the previous webinars, we've been using the School Enterprise Challenge as an example of a project through which your students can develop different skills. And we are going to do the same today, and that will be as an example of for your students to develop their financial skills. So before we continue talking about the School Enterprise Challenge, I'd like to just check with you how many of you have ever already taken part in the program before. So let's run a quick poll to see if you ever taken part in the School Enterprise Challenge, School Enterprise Challenge before. And the options are as simple as yes or no. Thank you, India, because I know you're coming to help me with the poll. Yes. Oh, I cannot hear you. Do we have you, India? This is amazing. Usually one of us is having an issue with technology. Today seems to be you. So let's see if we can fix it. You seem to be unmuted and yet we cannot hear you. Okay, great. So while India fixed the microphone, everyone has voted. So if you like to just share, amazing. 58% say yes, 42% say no. Thank you, India. Thank you, everyone, for voting. This is what happens when you run a live session, right? So we welcome all the challenges and we go through them despite the odds. Okay, amazing. Thank you. So 58% versus 42%. So for those of you, that 42% who don't know, the School Enterprise Challenge is a free award-winning educational program which was created and is run by us. That means Teach Man to Fish. So for the last 10 years, we have been supporting participants, which are young students and teachers from all over the world, to plan, set up, and run their very own real business. And our educational resources, our educational materials support you and your learners the whole way through the journey, from coming up with an exciting and innovative business idea and writing an awesome business plan to actually launching your school business. And that means selling a real product or service to real people for real money, right? And we cannot emphasize this real aspect enough. It's about launching businesses, not about only planning, but launching a real business, selling real products or services for real money and to real people. Great. So today, as we said, is all about making money. So let's quickly go with another poll. So I know you are there and I know how you are feeling about finances. So I asked you at the beginning, this time we are going to give you a few options because we know finances is a topic that most of us are usually rejecting it, right? Like you better move away from numbers and calculations because it's not necessarily what we enjoy doing. So we would like to know, how do you feel about finances? And the 4 options, which I hope India, despite having issues with a microphone, is going to launch pretty soon, is the first option is you don't like them, but you kind of understand and you don't understand them, sorry. Second one is I don't like them, but I understand they are a key component of a business. Third one is I like them and I enjoy working with numbers. And the fourth one is I see finances as just an adding, subtracting, and multiplying exercise. So which of these options resonate with you more? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
I fixed my microphone and the poll is live. So you should see it on screen and be able to vote. About half of you have voted so far. If you haven't voted yet, please do so.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say it's great to see excitement in the chat box. Thank you, everyone, for sharing how you're feeling.
So the most popular answer so far is I like them and I enjoy working with numbers. Great to have that positivity.
Amazing.
And then we have a couple of people that have voted for each of the other answers.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Thank you, India, and thank you, everyone. And again, there's not right or wrong answer, right? It's just, we just want to know how you're feeling about finances, and the majority of you like them and enjoy working with numbers, which is great. So that means you are in the right place at the right time today if you enjoy working with numbers. So thank you, everyone, again for voting, and let's keep this feeling in mind and see how, if that changes somehow, whether to one side or the other at the end of today's webinar. So let's keep on going. So before we move on to finances per se, I'm going to begin by talking briefly about what a business is and why businesses do what they do, as it will help us to set the scene for what we'll be talking about later on in today's session. So I'm sure you know, or most of you know already, but let's say that a business is any organization that makes goods or products or provides services. There are plenty of definitions out there what a business is. This is the one that we use at Teach Man to Fish. Business is any organization that makes goods or products or provides services. And why do businesses exist? Because it's a business is mainly to make money. So businesses aim to make a profit. And profit is simply the money you make given how much you sell, subtracting how much it costs you to produce. And we'll be looking into this in more detail later on. But just let's start recapping on business is any organization that sells goods or services or provides services, and profit is the money that you make given how much you sell, subtracting how much it costs you to produce, right? And businesses exist to make a profit. Great. Having that in mind, and knowing that profit is not everything, right? It's not the main feature, at least in the context of the School Enterprise Challenge, there are many reasons why we believe it's important for your school business to make a profit. So I'm going to share with you some of them. We believe that making a profit will give you the opportunity to learn what it takes to run a business which makes money, developing valuable business knowledge and transferable skills, which will help your students later in life. So it's about learning, knowledge, and transferable skills. You can also reinvest in growing the businesses, giving more students the opportunity to get involved within in the years to come. And that's linked to the sustainability of a business. if you plug back some of those profits back into the business, you can get going for years to come and make your business sustainable. It could also support your school's educational activities, for example, through providing bursaries or buying textbooks to support lower income students. Or it could also support your school's running costs, and that could be painting classrooms or building toilet blocks or any other thing that you think is needed at your school. Another thing you could do with your profits from your school business is donating them to a registered charity, social or environmental cause that are important to your students. So as you can see, running a profitable school business presents so many exciting possibilities for your students to develop their skills and decide what they would like to spend their hard-earned cash on. So it's up for your students to decide what to do with the money. So one of the first ways you can make business finances fun for your students is by getting them excited about all these wonderful opportunities if their business makes a profit, right? So you could simply start by asking your students what they would like to do with their school business profits and let them decide and imagine all the wonderful and exciting opportunities that a school business could create, right? There's a famous phrase that goes begin with the end in mind, like what they could do with all the profits from the school business. And that's going to create motivation and excitement in your students, especially when working in finances. So now that we are clear what is profit, let's take a closer look at how you know if your business is making a profit or not, right? So we started by defining what a business is, what profit is. So how do you know if your business is making a profit? As we said at the beginning at Teach Man to Fish, we have been supporting schools for over 10 years to plan, set up, and run student-led businesses. And we believe we understand the challenges and fears that young people have around finances. So what we did is we broken down financial planning into the simplest form and smallest chunks so anyone can understand it. As I said before, we know it's a topic that we are not comfortable with. So we've broken it down in small pieces so it can be understood by everyone. Accounting teachers might say it's a bit more complicated, but for the School Enterprise Challenge, we have tried to make planning your business finances as simple as possible. So anyone could do it. You don't need to be an accounting teacher, you don't need to be a math teacher or an expert in numbers, anyone can do it. So mainly we think you can think of your business finances as a balancing act, right? And if we think that way, then income is the money into the business received from selling something. That could be your product or service. So income is your money received from sales, money coming in. Costs, on the other hand, are money out of a business spent on producing your product or service and running your business. So one comes in whilst the other one goes out. Income is any money incoming from your sales. Cost is any money going out from running your business or producing your product or service. And let me give you an example. If you are running a tailoring businesses, and maybe 58% of you who know already or taking part in the School Enterprise Challenge, some of you probably are running one of these businesses, but if you're running a tailoring business, your income would be the money you make from selling the cloth you make. So your cost are the money you spend to make and sell those clothes. For example, cloth, thread, scissors, and anything else like wages if you are hiring someone, employing people to make them, or rent and electricity if you're using some facilities, or if you have a factory or a job. So knowing what income is and what cost is, we say if your income is more than your costs, you make more money from selling your clothes than it costs you to produce them, then you're making a profit, right? If your income is more than your cost, you're making a profit. But if your income is less than your costs, That means if it's costing you more to make the cloth than the money you bring to the business from selling them, you're making a loss. And as we said before, businesses aim to make a profit. So making a loss is the opposite, right? That's why we have that sad face and the smiley one, because making a loss is not necessarily what we are aiming for, yet is not the end of the world. It happens, right? We just need to know when it happens and what we could do about it, but it's not the end of the world. So businesses aim to make a profit, but if our income is lower than our cost, we are going to incur in a loss. So that's what we say, right? That we say, like, great if we get a profit, opposite if we get a loss. What do you think? Why do you think it's not good for a business to make a loss? And I'm going to allow a few seconds for you to share in the chat box why it's not good for a business to make a loss. Why do you think it's not good? Let's have a look at chat. Why do you think it's not good for a business to make a loss? Going to allow a few seconds. Why is it not good for businesses to make a loss? And hopefully by saying that, you are still there and I haven't lost you, right? But while you think about that, I'm going to continue with another example. So we started saying or defining what income is, what cost is, and if one is higher than the other one, we have a profit. If your income is lower than your cost, then you'll have a loss, right? That's a situation we don't want to be in. That's not the aim of a business, and yet that could happen. So the question was, why do you think that's not good for a business? While you think about that, let's have a look at how all this translates into your classroom. So for younger students, it might help to explain this balancing act that we introduced at the beginning with objects rather than money. And it will be as simple as this. If someone gives you 5 apples, and that could be thought of as your income, and you give away 3, and you think about those as your costs, then you'll be left with 2 apples, and that's your profit, right? So rather than talking about money, if we translate that into objects, 5 apples that somebody is giving to me minus 2 that I give to somebody else, or 3, I think was an example, then I'm left with 2, and that will be the equivalent of my profit, because what I receive is still higher than what I gave away. And the same logic would apply if you think about the income, cost, and profit in terms of money, just in bigger numbers, right? This is just an example of how we could explain the same concepts, the same topic with your learners. So now that you know what income, cost, and profit are, the next step when planning your business will be to work out how much money you actually need to start your business. And that is called startup budget. That's another one on this salad mix on finances, a startup budget. So many businesses need some startup capital to get started. Some of them might not, but we just want you to be aware of this other concept in finance, a startup budget. We are not going to cover it into detail today, because we like to focus on the main ones, income, cost, and profit. But you can learn more about startup budget on Guide 4 from the School Enterprise Challenge program, and how to calculate how much startup capital you need can be found on Guide number 8. So those 2 resources are available for you to go and have a look at how to calculate your startup budget, which is the money that you need to start with your business. I'm going to pause for a moment to have a look at the chat. I can see some conversations going on. So let's have a look. The business will not grow and sooner it will close down. Exactly, Kutasa, exactly. There'll be no business, right? It cannot grow, it cannot run, it cannot be run actually, and it will close down. 9 ads because of the viability of the project is compromised. Exactly. There's no money coming in, and it's more, we have more money coming out, then we'll be in trouble. Sarah adds, because business is done for profit, and good business means good amount of profit. Yeah, exactly. And it's okay to say that, right? Like, I know we don't want to say businesses exist to make profit, but they do, right? Another thing is being a non-profit or any other type of organization who's not seeking a profit, but businesses do aim to make a profit. Ronald add, lose opportunities to both employees and entrepreneurs. Yes, I completely agree. Lose opportunities and kind of wasting our time, probably, if we don't recover, right? If we don't turn it around. Funding wise, because the business is losing instead of making profit, which will have a bad impact to the business. Exactly. Yeah, and I can see India agreeing. Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your insights, your thoughts on why making a loss. It's not a situation we are going to aim for or that we like to be at. Amazing. So let's get going. So far we've broken down income, cost, and profit. So later on today's session, we are going to be sharing an interactive activity you could run with your students when introducing financial planning. But before we move on to that, as you might have gathered by now, the financial plan is one of the most important parts of your business plan. And again, that's something that I'm saying right now. I'm saying to you, the financial plan is one of the most important parts of your business plan. But why do you think having a financial plan is so important? We touch base on why making a loss is not good for a business. Now, why do you think working on your financial plan is so important? And again, I'm going to allow a few seconds for you to share in the chat. Why do you think having a financial plan is so important? I can see Nileka adding loss is bad for business. Yes, indeed, it is. So why do you think financial planning or working on your financial plan is so important? Minimize loss risk. Yep, I agree with you, Nias. Tileka is financial planning, effective use of finances. Yes, it's about being efficient and effective. It will help you to run the business smoothly. Yes, thank you. That's exactly right, right? So a strong financial plan will help you make sure that you're going to run your business in a way that can generate profit and not a loss, right? It will guide you through or into the direction of making a profit rather than a loss. So we believe financial planning is important for many reasons. So I'm going to share with you a few of them. Firstly, it will help you manage your cash. Know what costs you have coming up and what you can afford to spend, helping you to run your business smoothly, as one of you already shared in the chat. So manage your cash, how much money you have available, what things you can buy, what costs are upcoming and you will need to cover. Secondly, it will help you support your business growth. And that's another one that came up in the chat. Creating a financial plan makes you think about the future goals of your business, how much profit you want to make, and how you can achieve those goals. Goals, targets, you choose the word, right? But it's about visioning how much money, how much profit I like to generate, and then working towards that, working towards a plan and what steps I need to take to get there. It will also help you to spot trends, because creating a financial plan involves setting targets, goals, objectives, how much profit you want to make, which you can compare your actual results to later on to help you see the impact of your pricing, marketing strategy, promotion activities, etc. Right? So we are planning, we are estimating how much money we like to make, and then we'll compare it as we go along and we run the business. we will compare those estimations. We'll compare that plan versus my actuals, how much money is actually coming in, how much money is actually going out, what's my actual profit. Fourthly, it will help you identify your most important expenditures. And that will help you prioritize spending what bring about immediate improvements and not the money that you might need to spend later on in the future. For example, if we go back to the tailoring business, a key expenditure probably for you at the beginning will be buying a sewing machine and not necessarily going and buying 30 different pieces of colors of fabric for your different patterns or clothes that you're going to be creating, because actually without a sewing machine, you cannot do anything. So it will help you identify your most important expenditures and then prioritize and work around those, or them, sorry, I was going to say those expenses. Let me have a look at the chat, what's going on. Business depend on financial planning, income, profit, and saving and cost. Exactly. Gives you direction in running of your business. Exactly. And to know the sources of finances. Exactly. Where is my income coming from? I understand that's what you mean by sources of income. Where are my main sources of income? Where is my income coming from? Is it from sales? Is it from promotion? Is it from whatever the options, right? Great. So seems like we are all on the same page in terms of why working on your financial plan is important when planning your business. So now that we look at all those reasons on the importance of creating a business plan when you plan your business, before you launch your business, let's have a look at some things that might pop up on our way and might stop us from actually creating one, right? It's great that we understand how important it is. It's another thing to actually create one and develop a business plan when you're planning your business. So one of the things that we know people usually go for is that they might feel like you need to be a math expert, right? And I'm sure most of you are not math teachers or experts. I'm not myself, and yet I work on finances. So the good news is that you only need to know how to do simple calculations, right? Addition, subtraction, and multiplication. That's all you need to do. Addition, subtraction, and multiplication. And you can always use a calculator. You don't even need to use your head or brain when doing those calculations. So this is a good opportunity, we believe, to remind your students that creating a financial plan will help them to put in practice what they learn in math lessons with a real world example, right? You can always remember, we encourage you to use the school business as an example for different subjects taught across your curriculum. And this is another real world example where you can bring your finances to life. Another thing that majority of us usually think is that creating a financial plan sounds complicated and will take a long time to do. So let's not do it, right? But actually, through your market research, you've done lots of the hard work already. You already know what you are going to sell, to whom, and what price you are going to sell it at. So your financial plan just needs to help you to make sure that you cover your cost and will make a profit. All the rest is coming from your market research. And I'm going to emphasize this again later on. Everything else is coming from your market research, right? You are not guessing things. You've done your hard work already. So you go back to all the data that you collected on your market research, and then you'll know how much money you roughly are going to generate, how much income you're going to get, and how much money you're going to spend as well to make your product or provide your service. And the last one is that after all, you might be thinking that you don't need a financial plan just yet, right? You'd rather just get going and think about your finances later on down the line. Why now? Well, actually, it's essential that you create a financial plan now before you start making sales, so that you can make sure that you won't be running your business at a loss. Again, we don't want all your hard work to go to waste. We don't want to get any surprises down the line because we haven't planned accordingly. They might come, great, but we'll be better prepared if that's the case, because we plan and thought things through in advance, right? So that's some of the things that you might be thinking, and then our answer will be, well, actually, it's as simple as this. We are just sharing this out of experience. So let's move on and have a look at some of the tips to consider when calculating your income cost, just to know whether you are making a profit or not. So in terms of how to actually calculate income, cost, and profit, I'm going to, again, direct you or invite you to have a look at our School Enterprise Challenge educational guides, where you'll find in detail, step-by-step explanation on how to calculate income, cost, and profit. There's a table, there are 5 simple steps, everything broken down, as we mentioned at the beginning, so you can always refer back to the guides and find that step-by-step explanation. There's also a blank template on the business plan template to work on finances and bring all your calculations over there on that template. So we are going to focus on today together on a few tips to consider when you work on your calculation, when you're working out how much money, how much income, how much cost, and how much profit your business is going to create or generate. So let's go with the first one. It's really good to aim high. We know that because you want to end up with a big profit at the end, probably as a business, you aim for that. But it's still important to be realistic and make sure your plan is achievable. And for that, we invite you to think about the quantity of products or services you will realistically be able to sell given the time you have available. I can say I like to sell 5,000 uniforms in the next month, which is amazing. That's really ambitious and we are aiming high, but is that realistic? Am I really going to sell 5,000 uniforms in a month? Probably not. So the point is, let's aim high, but let's stay grounded and be realistic on what is achievable with what is available to us. And again, looking back at our market research, how many people show interest? What's my market? What's the demand, right? So who I'm selling this to. Another one to consider is items that will be most popular. So thinking like, which items do you think will be the most popular and how much are your customers willing to pay? So again, go back to your market research. Which one is the one that you need to produce more of, or the service that you need to offer more of? Which one will be the popular on demand? And you need to make sure that you cover that demand. And how much money are your customers willing to pay for? And it's not a guessing game. Everything has been researched when you did your market research, right? So go back and find out, because that's key when informing your income levels. And the last one is something that we all do all the time. It doesn't matter whether it's with a business or any time that we work with numbers, just check your calculations. After you're filling your financial table, just make sure that everything has been added up correctly and that you haven't missed, for example, a 0 over here or somewhere, like there's an extra comma somewhere over there on the table. Just check your calculations, double check them. And actually, I'm sharing that because we do that every single time we work with numbers on budgets, on planning, on whatever we do, we double check our calculations. So these are just some tips to consider when calculating your income. So let's have a look at some tips when calculating your costs. And again, although, and I was going to start saying this, but let's recap on business planning. When you plan for your business, those are your best estimations, right? You are planning for the future, you are thinking ahead, and of course, you might need to have flexibility because things might not happen the way you plan them, and that's the same goes in life. So you are planning with your best estimations. By keeping that in mind, it's really important that you make sure that your costs have been accurately researched by getting quotes from real suppliers rather than just guessing. I think my cost will be, no, go and you did your research and you ask your suppliers how much money you need to pay for whatever material you need to buy to produce your product or provide your service. So this is actually a great learning opportunity for your students to try to strike a deal with their suppliers, right? Like, will you give me a discount? We are students, we are running a school business, whatever the opportunity is for them to strike a deal. But the key thing here is, as we were saying with income, aim high but be realistic. The same goes with costs, like research them and not guess them, right? Like get the real cost and the real money that you're going to spend when you run your business. The other one is that you might not have to buy everything that you need. So you can see what you have available at school or home, things that you can use for free. And even if something is donated, you can still bring it to your calculations and the cost will be zero, right? But at least you make sure that everything has been considered and nothing has been forgotten if you do that. So again, you don't necessarily need to buy absolutely everything that you need. So check what is available at school, at home, that you can use for free. And then the third one is, when you are listing your costs, think not only about the materials that you need. For example, on the tailoring business, it'll be thread or scissors or buttons, but also other costs that might be involved when working on your product. And that we usually call them as indirect costs associated with running your business. For example, the cost of printing flyers or traveling to the market or paying any external employees or any other costs that are related to running your business, but not necessarily directly related to producing your product or offering your service. I'm going to pause for a moment, and I swear the activity is coming shortly. I'm going to stop talking anytime soon, but let's check on the chat. Do you have any questions so far? Is all being clear? Thumbs up. Are you still there? I know this is like content heavy at the beginning, recapping on things, but I can assure you the good thing is coming pretty soon. Are we all okay so far? Are we clear on income, cost, profit? Why it's important to plan for your finances when you are planning your business? There's a saying that goes, no news, good news, right? So I'm taking your silence as everything is okay, keep going. Amazing. Thank you, Katasa. Thank you. I just need to check, that you're still there. Awesome. So let's move on. We cover income, cost. So let's have a look at profit and then we jump into the activities. So as I said before, we cover income, we cover some tips on cost. So the final step is to work out if you're making a profit or loss, right? So, and you already know how to do this because we've seen it before. And actually, I'm sharing with you those smiley and sad faces just to give you a reference, which one is for what, right? So we said that profit is the difference between your income and your costs. So if your income is higher than your costs, you are making a profit. But if your costs are higher than your income, then you're making a loss, right? I think if anything, if that's the biggest takeaway from today's session, I'll be happy with that, right? The difference with which one is higher and the balancing act as well. So if one is higher, then it'll be a profit. If your cost is higher, then you'll be making a loss. So all you need to do is simply subtract your total cost from your total income, right? So I'll give you an example, a pretty simple one. If my income is $95 and my costs are $55, then the difference will be $40 as a profit. It's a positive one. My income is higher than my costs, so then I'll get to make a profit. And we are using US dollars on the example because, as you know, we usually work, as we said before, where the program runs all around the globe and we have an international audience today. So just to make it easier for everyone to reference a currency, talking about dollars, right? But the same goes with your local currency. So this is great when you plan your business. Once you launch your business, it's a good idea to monitor your profit levels by regularly checking your actual income against your actual costs, right? Again, remember, this is a prediction. This is what you plan, how much money you plan to make, how much money, how many sales you think you're going to have, and then how much cost you're going to, or how much money you're going to spend on your costs. But then it's good to, as you launch your business and run your business, to monitor those profit levels regularly. So let's have a look at then of one of the activities, and it's time for me to stop talking. Yeah. So we're going to play a short game to check our understanding on the difference between income, costs, and profit. So you can run this same activity with your students using a made-up business and numbers, so they get the hang on how to calculate, how the calculations work before they create the financial plan for their own school business. So to play this game, you're going to vote via the different polls on the screen the answer you believe is the correct one, right? So again, we are playing this game today, right now with you. You can do the same with your students when introducing the topic. So to set the scene, imagine that you plan to set up a business making and selling recycled handbags. And again, some of you, that 58% that have been taking part in the School Enterprise Challenge before, this might be your business. If so, great. So you plan to sell 25 handbags at $10 each. You're going to sell 25 handbags at $10 each. And each bag costs $2 to make. And the cost involving packaging, marketing, and transporting all of the bags is $60, right? So my lovely colleague India is going to help me to launch a poll, because the first one is about the income. With that information that you can see on the screen, what would be your total income? And we have three options, right? Is it $200? Is it $250? Or is it $150?
The poll is live. Just a few people have voted so far. Everyone's thinking and doing the calculations.
You can use your calculator from your phone, or if you have it handy, you came ready for today's session with a calculator, which is great. Is it option 1, 2, or 3?
The votes coming in, about a third of you have voted so far. If you haven't voted yet, please do. I won't say who's in the lead because I don't want to sway you.
Awesome. Let's allow a few more seconds and see which one is the winner. Shall we have a look?
Yeah, let's leave it there. So I'll end the poll and share the results with you. The most popular answer by far was $250.
Amazing. Thank you, India, and everyone who voted, because that's actually the correct answer. So all you need to do to calculate your income was to multiply the 25 handbags times the $10 that each of them cost or were priced at. Amazing. So let's move on to the next one. If we did income, now we are going to cost. So what would be your total costs? And then option number 1 will be $50. Option number 2 will be $110. Or option number 3, which is $60. So what would be your total costs?
Interesting. The votes are a bit more split this time, but people are quicker off the mark. Again, a third of you have voted. I can see them rolling in. What would be your total costs? $50, $110, or $60?
We need to get some suspense music.
Yeah. Like a countdown for a game show.
Okay, let's have a look. What are the results?
All right, I'm sharing them with you now. So the most popular answer was $110, followed by a few people who thought it was $60.
Amazing. And that's again the correct answer, because that's mainly multiplying your 25 bucks times $2, which is the unit cost, plus the 60, which are the other costs involving packaging, transporting, and I don't remember what else we had. Marketing, thank you. Great, so 110 is your total cost. So let's go with the last one, third one. So if we did income, cost, now is the difference. What would be your profit then? And this is an easy one because you already know the answers to the other one. But anyway, option number one is 140. Option number two is 150. Option number three is $200. It should be pretty easy, right?
Yeah, we got some confident votes. Everyone that voted first all went for the same thing.
Okay.
Now it's starting to get a little bit more split. Give you just a few more seconds to vote if you haven't already. What would be your profit? $140, $150, or $200?
It's like an auction, right? Vote for you. Just kidding. Okay, shall we end the poll?
Yes. Sharing the results again, and the most popular answer was $140.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, you all got it right, or the majority of you got it right. It was mainly subtracting your 250 income minus your 110, which is the total cost. Amazing. Thank you, India, and everyone for voting. And as we said before, you can play a game exactly like this with your students. And you can actually use the same example if you like to. It's available to you. Another nice way for students to practice completing a financial plan is with kind of a similar activity as the one I'm going to show you, which we call it fill in the gaps activity. So you can provide the financial plan for a fictional business or for your real business and provide some of the information and leave some gaps in between. For example, sales price and sales income for tomatoes, but leave out the quantity sold, and get your students to complete the calculations, filling in the gaps. Right? So that's another way of playing with multiplying, subtracting, and adding with your numbers and understanding how we calculate income, cost, and profit. So we just wanted to give you an idea of another activity that you can use to support your students when creating their own financial plan. So you now have 2 exercises that you can run with your students when working on the finances for their school business. There's another one, there's a third one, and this is my favorite, my personal favorite, which is the marketplace simulation. And it's one that at Teach to Fish, we actually believe this is the best way to help your students understand all these concepts of give and take and balancing in one place, right? You put it all together on this marketplace simulation. This is a fun way for students to start to understand the value of money and making a profit before they get to stage of selling their product or service and making real money, right? Like this is the first step. They do it like closed door, and then they build the confidence to go outside and start selling and offering their products to the real clients. So what we are going to do now is we'll run through together this activity on how you could do this with your students. And the activity is mainly divided into 5 parts. As we said at the beginning, remember that everything is available to you. We are going to share with you today's presentation slides, so you can always come back and use the same exercise and actually adapt it as you like to. So for this exercise, we suggest you start by explaining to your class that today we are going to hold a simulation marketplace, and the aim of the activity is to make the most amount of money. So if you're able to, you can also offer your students some prizes or small prizes. That's something that we usually do as well when we run this activity. It could be, I don't know, chocolates or any sweets or whatever, just to incentivize them to take part. But just to be clear, right at the beginning of what the aim of the activity is. And we said is to make the most amount of money. So then part one starts, and it was going to take up approximately 20 minutes. And it will start by splitting your students into small teams of 4 to 5 students. And you're going to give each of them $5 that they're going to spend on buying things. As I said before, $5 international audience today. So just for you to have a reference, it doesn't need to be $5 as such. And it actually doesn't need to be real money. We actually suggest that you draw fake notes on paper and cut them out, or use any currency from any of your board games available. Monopoly could be one. So it doesn't need to be real money. And actually, please don't make it with real money. Just give them like a paper note that says $5 or 5 in your local currency. And then you're going to tell your students that this $5 is the startup capital, which is the money that they need to start the business. And they can use this to buy any products that are in the teacher's shop, right? So you're going to offer them different products, which they will need to buy with their $5 note. And you can set your shop up with different, like, actually you can draw some things and label them with a price tag, or it could be pictures, or it could be real objects that they are actually going to buy. And you need to tell the students that they need to decide as a team what they want to buy from the shop, right? They have different options on the table, and they will need to decide what is it that they want to buy from the shop. You can give them 5 to 10 minutes to do this, and they will need to consider, for example, if they are going to buy lots of the same item for a low cost, or different items so they have a range, or they are going to have a few items of the most expensive ones, or how they are going to use the money, right? So allow them a few minutes to decide. But remember that this is done on a first come, first serve basis. So when something is gone, it's gone, right? So once they have chosen what they're going to buy, and then they actually buy the items, they need to decide on how much they want to sell the items for. So for this activity, we simplify things, right? They are not going to actually produce any products or offer services, but they are go and buy, and then they're going to resell what they bought, adding up some margin, like a profit margin. So they need to decide after buying those items from your shop, how much money they're going to charge for the items that they're going to sell. So that's part one. Part two, which is going to take roughly another 20 minutes, they need to make marketing materials for their stall, right? So you can give them 20 minutes for the teams to make the marketing materials. And that can be signs, posters, pitches, songs, jingles, anything. This is where the creativity comes to play. So we encourage you to encourage your students to use their creativity. So they work on the marketing. They need to draw people's attention on what is it that they are selling, so they can actually sell the stuff. Part three, which is roughly between 10 and 15 minutes, is actually to give each individual learner $2 to spend. It's great, they got some money to buy things. Now they need some money to buy products that they're going to sell. Now they need some money to actually spend and buy other stuff. So this will be their own money and does not form part of the profits of the business, right? So each of student is going to have $2 to spend on the marketplace. And then all that is left is to officially open the marketplace and run it for 10 to 15 minutes. The business team will need to split themselves up, so to make sure that some of them are manning the stall and some are buying, and then they swap, right? We need to make sure that there'll be some students selling their products and some other going and buying somebody else's product. Remember, this is a simulation, and the idea is for everyone to experience, again, like how in real life that would be, but as a simulation first. Part four, which is going to take up between 10 to 15 minutes, it's cashing up, right? It's for teams to actually cash up. So what they need to do is actually add up the cost of the items they bought initially from the teacher's shop. That's with the $5 that they had available at the beginning. Then they are going to add up the income they received from the items they sold to other students at the marketplace. And then what is left is for them to work out the profit by subtracting their cost from their income, right? So adding up all the costs from the things that they bought at your shop, the teacher shop, adding up all the income that they receive from their sales, daily sales, and then work out the profit by doing income minus costs. You can give your students a simple template to help them to do these calculations. And remember, again, on the business plan template, there's a table over there that you can also use. So the last one, part 5, which is about 10 minutes, it's about reflecting what happened on that activity. And you could do that by asking your students, did you make exactly the same amount of profit as you thought you would at start, or more, or maybe less? And why do you think that is? Or what happened over there? Why, what it was different? And if they are not sure whether they made a profit or not, what could they do differently next time? And a hint over here is to keep good financial records. The idea is to write everything down, everything you spend on cost and everything you earn as an income. If you don't do that, it's really hard to keep track on all the money that is coming in and all the money that is coming out, right? So what would they do differently next time? If they forgot to keep records, maybe that's one to consider. They did it, so they need to improve that. Do we need to look into details on things, etc. The last one is, what advice would you give to someone starting a business for the first time? So now that they experience this firsthand, what advice, what would they say? What would they tell somebody who likes to start a business for the first time? So that's it. That was part 5, the reflection on the activity, which it was a marketplace simulation. And we believe this is such a great interactive activity to get students excited about the prospect of selling their products, services, and making money, right? Like it's like the first step before going out there with the products or services and actually start charging people, start selling the stuff and receiving some income in exchange. So the way we describe the activity can be run in a little over an hour, and you might need some time to prep with currency and notes and everything that you need, or any materials that you need for your marketing, for the marketing of your stall. So you can actually run it, if you like, as a short activity, or you can run it as a half-day activity and get the business teams to make their own products to sell, right? So possibilities are endless. You can start small and you can start growing with the activity, or you can go straight as kind of close simulation to reality, having your students actually making the products that they are going to sell and probably sell them for real if you also like to. Great. So that's all we covered so far in terms of income, cost, profit, and a few activities that you can run with your students when introducing this topic to create this excitement and motivation on working on their finances when working on the school business. So we are going to do now an activity, a group activity in breakout rooms to put it all together for you to leave the session with everything that you need to and feeling the same way, hopefully, or even better as when you join at the beginning of today's session. So we are going to have an activity in a breakout room. But before that, let's recap on how breakout rooms work. So you will be assigned to a breakout room and move there automatically. You don't need to do anything, because at the end of this activity, you will be automatically brought back to the main room. There's nothing going on in the main room while this activity is taking place, right? So it's just me looking at the camera and sipping some water. So please make sure that you join the breakout room if you like to be part of the conversation. There's nothing going on in the main room. When you are in the breakout room, remember to click to unmute yourself, to turn on your microphone, and you can turn on your camera if you like to, because otherwise you won't be able to take part in the conversation. And remember that you'll only get out of this webinar what you put in. So we really, really encourage you to actively get involved and experience this activity for yourselves before you do this with your students, right? So remember to unmute and switch on your camera if you like to be part of the conversation and for people to see you. If you need any assistance in the breakout room, you can click on ask for help and then invite host. But please only do that if you really need help. Otherwise, I'm going to jump in, or India is going to jump in straight, and we are going to cut your conversation probably in the best moment. So we wouldn't like to be doing that. As we said at the beginning, this is all yours in a way. This session is yours. So again, we invite you to make the best out of it by taking part in the conversation. If you cannot because you are traveling, you don't have a good connection, or whatever the reason is, it's okay, we understand. But if that's not the case, we invite you to take part and take all the richness of that conversation with your peers through this activity. Great, so let's have a look at what we are going to be doing. In the end, it's all this intro, but what is this about? So I would like you to imagine that you just supported your students completing the financial plan for the school business. And you now realize all together that your plan shows that you're going to make a loss rather than a profit, right? So you supported your students working on their finances, and now you realize that you are going to make a loss rather than a profit. So what could you do? What could you do if that's the case? Let's imagine, as I said at the beginning, it's not the situation we like to be in, but it could happen. So if that's the case, what could we do? So the activity will be to think about the specific strategies you could use to turn your business from one which will make a loss to one which could make a profit, right? So if you realize you'll make a loss rather than a profit, what could you do? So you're going to have 10 minutes to work on this activity. And after the 10 minutes, you're going to be brought back automatically to the main room. And if time is available, I'm going to invite one of you to share your answers live, but definitely going to invite all of you to share your insights in the chat box on things that you could do if you realize that you're going to make a loss rather than a profit. Great, so everything clear, thumbs up, all ready to go. I'm going to set up the breakout rooms, excuse me. So you can enjoy your time together. Let me set up the time. If we are ready to go, I'll see you back in 10 minutes and with your insights on things you could do if you were to realize you will make a loss rather than a profit with your students when they were working on their finances. Off you go, see you back in 10. Let me check. Yes, welcome back everyone. So how did it go? Who would like to share? Or let's go again. All of you, please, you're invited to share in the chat box things you could do if you were to realize that you will make a loss rather than a profit when working with your students on your financial plan. But if any of you, we have time for one live sharing. So yes, I can see Priyanka quickly raising your hand. So would you like to share things that you could do that you share in your group?
Yeah, Paula, this is Priyanka from Indore, India.
Yes.
I am from room number 1. I have taken initiative and we all have contributed some of the points. Like the one thing that we can do, we can negotiate with the customer. the price which we have fixed already, that we can change with proper negotiation, so that we can enhance, or we can change that loss to our profit. One more thing that we can change, that we can plan. We can change in plan of executing the way that we have already.
Oh, I lost you.
Okay. Then one more. Can find if the customer is not at all ready to negotiate. Am I audible, Paula?
Yeah, now you're back. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
So you can negotiate, you were saying you can negotiate the price with the customer.
Then we can change, or we can find some new customers also.
Okay, great. To increase, to
Yes.
find new customers to bump
go
up
for
your
a-
income.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a minute, Paula.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure what happened. Whether
No. Paula,
you're
there
still
are
there.
a few more
Yeah.
points I would like to continue.
Yes,
We
please.
can change the marketing strategy also. Like, and one more, the very important thing, that we can change our location also. As if we are having a shop and we are not at all residing in a proper place where no customer is not there, where market is not well, then obviously customer cannot come over there. So we can change the location as well. We can choose the cost, the products which we are getting, or what we are having. We can use e-marketing also, instead of using that hawkers or some other boys or girls to come, and we have to pay salary, or to give some amount for their work. It's better that we will go for e-marketing. Hello, Paula?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, and the most important thing, that we can go for a large group for marketing.
Great.
Instead of a fixed group of person, or fixed person are there with us, we can enlarge our group, so that our costing will be in that only. But if customers are there more, we can do a very big thing, that will taking 5 things and giving and saying you can instead of taking 2, just take 3.
Yeah.
Will reduce some cost for that. Though we are reducing the cost just because the customer is taking 3 instead of 2.
Yeah.
Then also our profit will be there.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Priyanka. I'm just aware of the time. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm going to summarize what you share. You mainly focus on the income side, right? Like you can get new customers, you can work on your marketing, on your promotion, you can think about your location. If you like to move somewhere where it's more crowded, more people passing by, and then you can get promotions as well in terms of selling more products for a reduced discount or for a reduced price to your customers as well, which is amazing. So thank you very much for sharing. Shalu, I know you have your hand up. If you don't mind sharing on the chat, because I like to be respectful of everyone's time and want to finish on time. So I'll invite you to please share in the chat what strategies you thought of with your team, with your group in the breakout room, that you could do if you were to realize that you will make in a loss rather than a profit. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you, Jalu. And I'm sorry, and I promise to take you up on the next one, but just I'm aware of the time. And it seems like it's been a lively discussion on the different groups. So thank you, everyone, for taking part and for sharing your insights on those strategies. So I said at the beginning, we asked you how you were feeling. I'm keen to know how you're feeling now. Are you feeling more confident? Are you feeling still excited? Are you feeling, I don't know, that you understand things better now? And whatever it is that you're feeling, whichever way you're feeling, and again, there's no right or wrong, it's just the way it is. It's okay if you don't feel just yet 100% confident. And just remember that practice makes perfect. That goes for you and for your learners as well. So we invite you to take the time to go through our educational resources and read through all the guidance on the different guides. As we said before, everything is broken down in bite-sized chunk to be understood by everyone. And if you'd like to recap on what we covered today, you can always go back to our YouTube channel and catch and watch the replay on today's session. So having said that, there's always some time available, and we always want to invite you to step back and reflect on everything that we covered today. And my question to you today will be, how are you going to use what you learned today in your life, in your lessons, in your classroom? How are you going to use what you learned today? And again, you can share it in the chat box. You can take it with you after the session and think about it. It's just to make it more down to earth in a way, like everything that we cover. Now, what are you, how are you going to use what you learned today with your learners? And again, I'm going to catch up on the chat shortly, but I'll invite you to do that and quickly run through the useful resources that we usually end the session with. Mainly, it's all about finances, you know it already. So there's a fantastic video on financial planning, actually explained by one of the schools taking part in the program. So we recommend you click on the link when we share the slides and watch it. And then there are different guides, right? Different business guides in the School Enterprise Challenge program that you can go to learn more in detail about finances. So guide number 4 is all about raising your startup capital. Now, guide number 8 is about writing your financial plan. Number 9 is about deciding on how to spend your profits. And that's an exciting and important step we strongly recommend you do before you launch your business. The same as we share at the beginning of the session to get your students excited and motivated on the endless opportunities and wonderful opportunities that making a profit will bring to them through their business. The same goes with deciding together what they are going to do with those profits when they come. And guide number 12 is about accounting and record keeping. And again, we covered today mainly income, cost, and profit, but we wouldn't know, it's great to know how to calculate them, but we wouldn't know how we are performing if we don't keep the right records and we write everything down, both when we spend and both when money comes into the business. So those are the guides for you to go and have a look further in detail on things related to today's topic. So I'm going to skip this one quickly because you know all our contact details. Just stay tuned because that's where we share all the details for the upcoming webinars. And finally, the thing that we promised at the beginning, which is a link to the survey. India, my colleague, is going to share it in the chat. So remember to click on the link, complete that quick survey. It's going to take you only 5 minutes, and then you can download your certificate of attendance. And your feedback for us is very important. We check it every single time we finish a session because it's helping us improve our sessions and develop things that are of your interest. So that will be it for today, I'm afraid, just in time. I hope you enjoyed today's webinar and that you find it useful. This is webinar number 8 on the new series for 2021. And the next one, webinar number 9, which is the last one on this first series, is going to happen next week on Tuesday, 31st of August at 2 p.m. British Summer Time. And again on Thursday, 2nd of September already at 4 p.m. British Summer Time. So make sure that you follow us on our social media channels because that's where you can get the link to get registered. So again, as I said, thank you so much for bringing your energy and your presence in today's session. We hope you find it useful and you take away things to share with your learners when they work and develop their financial plan.